somebody's doing some flower thing, so I can go.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Harekrishna.
Yeah, it was kind of depressing walking into the temple. I mean, because it was all dark and then nothing set up. Yeah. What's going on here? Oh, it's my fault.
Nah. Beautiful. Do you want to move this?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah. I didn't. Mr. Gopal's here. Good.
Oh, really? Me too.
Invite you to be.
Nice.
But I don't think they could have stayed for the piece, but they'll be here for next Sunday piece.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
So red squares.
So they were here for our Mangalati.
Yeah, Malari. She's a devotee.
Yeah. That's good. You ready to lead the kirtan, Bill?
Huh?
You ready to lead the kirtan?
No, yeah.
Not right now.
Uh,
I saw you.
Huh?
I saw you on the videos.
Oh.
You-
But,
Yeah. There's no hiding. You can't hide from the eyes of the internet.
that's somebody else for sure. I'm joking. I don't know.
Harekrishna.
Hey, Harekrishna.
Did you experience nice traffic today like I did?
Yeah,
It's the only thing I like about Super Soul. I always call it Super Soul Sunday.
Super Soul Sunday.
Instead of Super Bowl Sunday. Is that there's hardly any traffic.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I thought there would
Absolutely.
be more traffic.
Because everybody in my community was like,
Yeah.
well, if,
You'll hear that in
it's
the
not,
noise.
if it's not Super Bowl Sunday, then it must be like the leading up to
Right.
Sunday. But I
Gotcha.
think it's probably Super Bowl.
I thought because the starting a couple hours, people would be all rushing, driving around.
No, I've experienced this so many, because it's always on Sunday.
Right.
So I don't know how many years I've experienced this, and I always forget, but I get on the road and I'm like, this is so nice. And the other nice thing I like about it, of course you probably don't agree with me, but the other nice thing about it is I don't have to watch it. And I don't even have to find out who
Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Asachara Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Harimo, Harimo, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh! Haribo, Haribo. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh! Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Haribo. Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hari Bol Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radha Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radha Go Premanande Haribo Down to the Bard Paramahansa Varudika Church Astoto to the Shishimada Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON BBD founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Padudika Acharya Astoto to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sukho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mahi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mahi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Transcendental Appearance Day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Dayine. Hiranyakashipo Raksha. Ashilatanka Nakalaye. Hito Nishinga Parato Nishingo. Yato Yato Yamitato Nishinga. Bahi Nishingo Didae Nishingo. Nirsinhamading Sharanang Prapaje. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Hampita Shinga. Nandalita Hiranakasipu. Tanum Bringa. Vapita Narahadi Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare. Tamakara Kamalambare. Sing a de, sing a de, sing a de, Jaya sing a de. Sing a Bhagavan ki jai, Pradhan Maharaj ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Mo.
Hare Krishna, welcome to Sunday Krishna Fest. So now we will have discussion, which most of you are familiar with. So if everyone could just move towards the big seat there. Vyasasana. So this evening we have a special guest speaker, His Grace Hasagrami Das. So if you could step up. So, Hasagrami Das is a very nice person, and some years ago he was attending university, UCSD, and he graduated. We didn't pull him out of the college. Yeah, we didn't pull him out of college. But he graduated and he studied psychology major. So in his college days, he was searching for all different types of answers to life's questions, and he found them in the Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, he'll be giving the talk tonight, and so if everybody could just listen to him for a while. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Is anyone here for the first time here? Okay. So just as a little introduction, we'll sing a little song called Jai Radha Madhava. It's a hymn by one of our acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's kind of a meditation on Krishna, who we have here on the altar, and his pastimes in his original village. So it's pretty simple. You be patient while we go through it, because you may not know the words here. Let's be quick. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Okay, so thank you all for joining us here tonight. Happy to have you all here in the temple. So tonight I'll be hearing from a few books. I'm going to start reading from a verse in Bhagavad Gita, and we'll jump around a little bit here tonight. So, I'll be pulling off my phone here. So we're going to read from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 22. Yeah, okay. So, before we read Bhagavad Gita, we'll chant the obeisances. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so I'll chant the Sanskrit, and then we'll read Prabhupada's translation and purport. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana parupashyate tesham nitya piyuktanam yoga shemam vahamyaham. Okay. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form. To them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. Srila Prabhupada's purport. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in the devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Shema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, and when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition of life, to a miserable conditioned life. Om Jnana Tamandasya Niranjana Shalakaya Chakshun Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master always opening my eyes to the torchlight of knowledge. For my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So I'll read the translation again here. Okay. So here, I'll read the translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. Okay. So here the Lord, Krishna, he is stating the unique position of the devotees. In the previous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, he is explaining, previous verses, he is explaining those who were interested in pious activities, in, you might say, material pious activities. And then he is contrasting their position with the devotees of the Lord. So I'll read those two verses here. It says, those who study the Vedas and drink the soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. So, here Krishna, he's stating the unique position of the devotee. That the devotee alone is able to escape this material existence, whereas anyone who is simply on the platform of pious or impious activities, they have to stay here. Now, what's also very unique about devotional service, and what this verse is really going at, is that in this process of chanting Hare Krishna, in this process of serving the deity, of all the things we do here, Krishna, he is actually helping us. Krishna, he's rooting for us. Krishna, he's always trying to give inspiration, help for us. Whereas in so many, in other paths, that is not exactly the case. So we have quite some experience in this world that there is a lot of competition out there. You want to get a house, there's so many other people trying to rent that room. You want to get a job, so many other people trying to get that job. You go to the emergency room, you got to wait in line. You know? There's always a competition for services, competition for materials. You know, people are fighting over what we have. But Krishna, he is unlimited. And Krishna, he has the unlimited capacity to reciprocate with each and every one of his devotees. So we don't have to fight over Krishna. There's no competition for serving Krishna. Just thinking, in Los Angeles, I think they have to, they have so many pujaris. The pujaris have to vie to get on the altar to serve Krishna. That's a nice kind of fighting for Krishna. But generally, we don't have to fight for Krishna. And Krishna, he's really pulling for us. Krishna, here it says that Krishna, he carries what the devotees lack and he preserves what they have. So what does that really mean for us? You know, what does that mean? What does Krishna's protection mean? So I'd like to read another verse if you'd have me. This is from ISKCON. A really nice book. If any of you haven't read it, it's also a nice book that Prabhupada translated. So this is the last verse of ISKCON. I'll read it here. Okay. So I'll just read the English here. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions of my past sins, so there be no hindrance to my progress. So I'll read a little bit of the purport here. It's a long purport, but I'll read a little bit. By surrendering to the Lord and praying for his causeless mercy, the devotee can progress on the path of complete self-realization. The Lord is addressed as fire because he can burn anything to ashes, including the sins of the surrendered soul. As described in the previous mantras, the real or ultimate aspect of the Absolute is his feature as the personality of Godhead, and his impersonal Brahmajyoti feature is a dazzling covering over his face. Fruitive activities, or the Karmakanda path of self-realization, is the lowest stage in this endeavor. As soon as such activities even slightly deviate from the regular principles of the Vedas, they are transformed into vikarma, or acts against the interests of the actor. Such vikarma is enacted by the illusion living entity simply for sense gratification, and thus such activities become hindrances on the path of self-realization. Okay. This one, so I'll read a little bit more. This is a little later in the purport. Prabhupada states here, the regular principles are such that one who follows them is promoted from the platform of fruitive activities to the platform of transcendental knowledge. After many lifetimes of cultivating transcendental knowledge, one becomes perfect when he surrenders unto the Lord. Thus, this is the general procedure. But one who surrenders at the very beginning, as recommended in this mantra, at once surpasses all the preliminary stages by adopting the devotional attitude. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 66 text, the Lord at once takes charge of such a surrendered soul and frees him from all the reactions to his sinful acts. There are many sinful reactions involved in karmakanda activities, whereas in yarnakanda, this path of philosophical development, the number of such sinful activities is smaller. But in devotional service to the Lord, the path of bhakti, there is practically no chance of incurring sinful reactions. One who is a devotee of the Lord attains all the good qualifications of the Lord himself. What to speak of those of the Brahmana? A devotee automatically attains the qualifications of an expert Brahmana authorized to perform sacrifices, even though the devotee may not have taken his birth in a Brahmana family. Such is the omnipotence of the Lord. He can make a man born in a Brahmana family as degraded as a low-born dog-eater, and he can also make a low-born dog-eater superior to a qualified Brahmana, simply on the strength of devotional service. Oh, there's one more paragraph here, I think. One or two more paragraphs. Really nice. Since the omnipotent Lord is situated within the heart of everyone, he can give directions to his sincere devotees by which they can obtain the right path. Such directions are offered to the devotee, even if he desires something else. As far as others are concerned, God gives sanction to the doer only at the risk of the doer. But in the case of a devotee, the Lord directs him in such a way that he never acts wrongly. Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto says, 11th canto 5th chapter 42nd verse says, the Lord is so kind to the devotee who is fully surrendered to his lotus feet that even though the devotee sometimes falls into the entanglement of vikarma, acts against the Vedic directions, the Lord at once rectifies such mistakes from within his heart. This is because the devotees are very dear to the Lord. All right, maybe one more paragraph. In this mantra of Shri Upanishad, the devotee prays to the Lord to rectify him from within his heart. To err is human. A conditioned soul is very often apt to commit mistakes, and the only remedial measure to take against such unintentional sins is to give oneself up to the lotus feet of the Lord, so that he may guide one to avoid such pitfalls. The Lord takes charge of fully surrendered souls. Thus all problems are solved simply by surrendering oneself unto the Lord and acting in terms of his directions. Such directions are given to the sincere devotee in two ways. One is by the way of the saints, scriptures, and the spiritual master, and the other is by the way of the Lord himself, who resides within the heart of everyone. Thus the devotee, fully enlightened with Vedic knowledge, is protected in all respects. So here we got a little elaboration on what Krishna's protection means. Is that Krishna, he is always trying to help the devotee come to the platform of pure devotional service. Even if the devotee, he may have a little bit of ulterior motive, even if he may have some other desires, that once the devotee has made that initial effort to surrender to Krishna, he's made some effort, and Krishna he's pulling the devotee back to him as fast as possible. So we hear a lot in Krishna consciousness about this idea of surrender. So for those you, our friend here, may not know so much about this, but surrender means to try to mold one's life in such a way that he acts according to the instructions of Krishna. He acts according to the instructions of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or the saintly devotees. This is what surrender means. So surrender is not exactly something we do just once. It is, especially for those of us who are initiated, it is a lifelong commitment to surrender every day. To try to, every day, mold our life in such a way that we're always remembering Krishna, that we're always acting according to his instructions. But we all have some baggage, at least I do. And we have so many bad habits we're carrying from our past. We may have so many bad habits we still have, and we make mistakes. So what to do? It's mentioned that, generally speaking, for the non-devotees, if one performs some mistake, some sinful activity, some bad deed, that there is like kind of there's a material way of correcting it, Maybe I steal somebody's lunch, so maybe I cook him a feast the next day, I don't know, something like that, So some little remedial measures are there. But the idea in Krishna consciousness is that the remedial measure is Krishna consciousness itself. Is that, okay, maybe I fell away for some time, maybe I wasn't practicing very strictly, or maybe I did something I don't feel so good about. But in Krishna consciousness, the only way out is up. The way out is to continue our devotional service with renewed enthusiasm, actually. And Krishna, he's very forgiving. Krishna, he's always excited for the devotee to come back to him. He's always excited. He's always looking to give more encouragement, more facility for service. So this is in devotional service, there is no reason to ever be discouraged. Krishna, he will always give us resources so we continue our path. Now, this is not to say there won't be difficulties in Krishna consciousness. I was just reading, in our quest of God consciousness, you might say in a general term. I was reading one of Indradyumna Swami's books recently. If any of you have not read Diary of a Traveling Preacher, any devotees, I highly recommend it. Really nice book. It's like diaries that Indradyumna Maharaj keeps when he travels. Really nice book. Lots of inspiring stories. But there was this story of this Russian lady and her daughter. And they, from very young age, they were always kind of seeking God. They had some religious qualities. But they were always having all these difficulties. It was like they were looking for answers in the church and they couldn't really find it. And they had a very rough life. They were ladies, but they were working in a factory to make their living. Both her and her daughter. And eventually they had come across in their search for more religious knowledge, they had come across the Bhagavad Gita in a library in Russia. I don't think it was Prabhupada's Gita, but some Bhagavad Gita. And they dug into that, and they dug into Mahabharata, and they really dug into it. And then, but after reading all this, they understood that, hey, actually, it keeps on saying, I need a spiritual master. I don't have a spiritual master. Where's the spiritual master, And right towards the end of their lives, they actually came in contact with devotees in Russia. This is before the Iron Curtain fell, or right around that time. And then just after that, like a year later, they came in contact with Indradyumna Maharaj. So, Krishna, if one has the desire, one has this sincere desire to seeking knowledge, seeking spiritual life, seeking truth in the world, Krishna, he reciprocates with that. And these devotees, they got the shelter of Indradyumna Maharaj. So, as devotees, Krishna, he may put some struggles in our life, go figure. But this is actually meant as a way to increase, to facilitate our devotional service. I was just reading. I think it's in the Bhagavatam, where it's explained by Vishwanath. Yeah, it's explained there that that actually Krishna, he will create such a situation. He will create such a situation where the devotee is eager to call out to Krishna. The devotee becomes very much in a you might say desperate or very very emotional, very high intensity experience of calling out to Krishna. We can see one of my favorite pastimes in the Krishna book, for those of you who read Krishna book, one of my favorite pastimes in Krishna's life is actually the Kaliya, the pastime of the Kaliya serpent. So anyone here, probably some of you may or may not know the pastime. Let me get a quick show of hands. Who knows the pastime? Oh. Okay, so I'll go through it a little quickly. So Krishna, he would always go into, Krishna, he lived in a little cowherd village, and he would always go out with his older brother Balaram and also the other cowherd boys. Now, Krishna's brother Balaram, a little older than him, he was kind of seen as Krishna's protector. So Balaram would always go out, and they'd know Krishna was protected because Balaram was with him. But on this particular day, it was Balaram's birthday. So Balaram stayed back to kind of enjoy the festivities, you know. Then Krishna went out alone with all the other cowherd boys. And to make a long story short, Krishna, he was caught in the coils of this poisonous snake, this huge poisonous snake. And all his friends were there, like seeing this. You know, they were terrified. And word got out to the village that Krishna, he was in trouble. So everyone came to see. They wanted to come to protect Krishna, you know, to try to save Krishna. So everyone was there on the banks of the Yamuna, and they were seeing Krishna in this really precarious situation. Krishna, you know, you imagine you have like a young child in the coils of like a giant snake. It'd be pretty terrifying. Yeah, this is quite some snake. This is like something you see out of a movie or something, you know, quite some snake. And the snake is Krishna in his coils. And the residents of Vrindavan, especially Krishna's mother, his father, they are terrified, actually. They're terrified for Krishna. They're so worried about him. And only his brother Balaram actually knows what's going on. Only his brother Balaram knows, actually, you know, Krishna, he's God. He's in no trouble. But everyone else, they're thinking Krishna's in so much trouble. And their anxiety is at like this really intense peak, you know. And then Krishna, he breaks himself out of the serpent's coils and does a dance, and all the residents of Vrindavan are very happy, and it's like that. But actually the same is true for us in a similar way, that we may be in a very difficult situation, whether materially or spiritually, we may be having hard times. But Krishna, he's waiting to dance, you know, he's just waiting to dance if we continue our enthusiasm in our devotional service. So the devotee, he's always aspiring for the Lord's mercy, but feeling himself very much unqualified. I was just reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita that we hear so much about the good character of our acharyas, Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, but when they came before Lord Chaitanya, they presented themselves as very fallen, very how should I put this? Very low personalities, even though they actually very learned scholars. They took this very humble mood toward Lord Chaitanya, thinking themselves, oh, we're not very much qualified for the mercy, but we hear, actually, even though we're not qualified, we hear you're very merciful, so please give it if you'd like. So this is the mood of the devotee. The devotee, he thinks, oh, what can I really do to deserve this mercy of Krishna? Krishna, he's presenting us with this promise of an eternal life full of bliss, full of complete knowledge, free from anxiety. Like, we're all looking for this complete satisfaction in Krishna. He's actually promising us that. You know, what can we ever do to deserve that? It's so amazing, actually, what Krishna is offering us. But by his attempt at serving Krishna, Krishna, he's very pleased actually. Krishna, he wants the devotee to come back to him more than the devotee even knows. So Krishna, he's always trying to give direction for the devotee to go back home, back to Godhead. And this comes, as Prabhupada mentioned in this purport, in two different ways. It comes externally and it comes internally. It comes externally through the Guru, through the sadhu and the shastra, through the saintly people, through the spiritual master, and the books. And then it also comes internally as the Lord kind of giving direction within the heart, giving, you might say, hints or intuition. Maybe you should go to the temple. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Everyone has this idea of a conscience. Oh, I shouldn't go there. I shouldn't do this. I know this is bad for me. So the devotees, they develop this Krishna conscience. And for myself, it really comes. It comes when one establishes a relationship with the devotees. That's actually very important aspect of devotional service. In devotional service, this aspect of guru is very much stressed. Guru means teacher, it means master, it means instructor, it means someone who we answer to. Generally speaking, everyone has that in their life, at least when they're younger. We answer to our parents, at least for some time, until we get better ideas. But we answer to our parents. The mother is said to be the first guru. So naturally, a good child, assuming the mother's good, a good child, he wants to please his mother, and actions that don't please his mother, he considers as wrong actions. There's, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't steal the cookies, whatever it is, So the devotee, by his establishment of his relationship between other devotees, he develops this conscience that I want to act in such a way to please my guru, to please the other devotees. It's actually this initiation, it's a very, those who have taken it, it's a very serious commitment. It means that I have promised that I'm going to mold my life in such a way to please Guru, to please Krishna. And one has made that commitment. Just like you work at a job, you're kind of committing that when I'm at the job, I'm committed to doing what I say I'm going to do, I don't work 9 to 5, I'm working 9 to 5 job and I go on break for 4 hours, But no, it doesn't work like that. When we surrender to Guru, when we are trying to please the devotees, it's something we're trying to do all the time as best as possible, And like I said, this is achieved out of love. The devotee, he doesn't want to displease his friends, his superiors. So this is actually done out of love. It's a very positive peer pressure, actually. So much out there that maybe all this negative peer pressure, but the association of devotees is actually the most positive peer pressure there is out there, and one can practically experience it by associating with devotees. This is how I really got hooked on this whole Krishna consciousness, is that I so much appreciated the association of devotees here, and I didn't want to miss out on it as much as possible. That's one advantage of living at the temple or near the temple, SanDiego area. All of you are somewhat near the temple because you came here today. But it's such an advantage to have a temple nearby, because it gives the devotees a place to congregate, to associate with one another. I spent some time traveling, and it's not like one needs to have a formal temple. This place is very nice and has quite so many advantages. But I spent some time in China, and I was really impressed by how the devotees came together, even at somebody's simple house. The room the devotees gathered in was probably maybe a quarter of the size of this temple room, and there was like 20, 30 devotees there. It was a good group, and they had like a 6-hour program of hearing and chanting or something like that on Sundays. It was quite intense, But they didn't have the facility we have. They didn't have nice deities of Radha and Krishna. They didn't have a big kitchen to make elaborate prasadam. They didn't have so many things that we have. But what they did have is they had each other. They had a place to associate. They had what was needed. So Krishna consciousness is so nice because it can be practiced under pretty much any condition. But one of the most important ingredients of our Krishna consciousness is our is the association of devotees. Because in Krishna consciousness is the whole process is changing our desire. So we have so many desires in this world, but some of them, you might say, some desires are, you might say, destructive or cause harm to others. You know, like, it's like we may have, not to pick on anybody here, let's just say we have some nice cookies for the feast tonight. Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't.
We will
I don't.
have some cookies tonight.
Okay.
It's true.
So not to pick on anybody here, but if someone here has a desire to take 10 cookies, you know, especially at the beginning, then that is actually in one sense a destructive desire because.
You know, we may be able to do that because there's not so many of us.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we'll do
We have an exception tonight. But let's just say there's a full temple room, okay? Full temple room tonight. Now, if someone wants to take 10 cookies, you know, that's actually hurting somebody else. You know, it's kind of a little bit of a destructive desire, you might say. You know, it's harmful to others. So Krishna consciousness, it's about changing our desire in such a way that actually it's not only is it not harmful to others, but it's actually beneficial for others. And so Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and other books, he teaches us how to act in this world in such a way that we inflict the minimal amount of harm on other living entities and give the maximal benefit. So many people that are out there, they're trying to help other people. That's very nice. There's an altruistic, there's a lot of altruism out there. But in Krishna consciousness, we really focus on spiritual altruism. That is our main focus. Is that we understand from the Bhagavad Gita that we're not simply this body. I'm not simply, 27-year-old monk or something like that. That I'm actually a soul living in this body, kind of inhabiting this particular place at this particular time. And my constitutional position is the servant of Krishna. So, knowing that I'm simply a soul living within this body, okay, the body needs to be maintained. I need food, I need water, I need a place to stay, whatever, these things are there. But also what I really need is spiritual knowledge. I need to know what is my relationship with God, what is my relationship with the other living entities, how do I interact with them in a proper way. That is actually real knowledge. Because the Bhagavad Gita, other books, they're teaching us this world that we live in, this world that we inhabit, it's not the all in all. It's not all that exists out there. That there is another abode. Bhagavad Gita describes there's another abode. And it's like we have our sun here, it's illuminating everything. But the other abode doesn't need any illumination. Everything is self-effulgent. That here we have so much anxiety, so much distress, everything is temporary and destructible. And there is another world which is the opposite of that. There's that world, nothing is destroyed, everything lasts forever and is eternally blissful. And that is actually our home. That is where we're meant to be. We're kind of on so we've made a wrong turn somewhere here. We made a wrong turn. We ended up in the material world, So we're looking to turn around. Actually, we're looking to go back home, back to Godhead. And this is explained that we have to change our desire. This world, it's explained, this world is meant for living entities who have, you might say, selfish tendencies, who have this tendency to exploit others, this tendency to be greedy or nasty or all sorts of, not so good things. It's anyone who is tinted by those qualities, this world is a place for them, even if we may have some good qualities. But in the spiritual world, everyone is freed from these bad qualities. So in order to enter that spiritual world, we must qualify ourselves and get freed from these bad qualities. And the way we do that is by engaging in this devotional service, by chanting Hare Krishna, especially. That is actually the most important process that we do, this chanting Hare Krishna. It's described that by chanting Hare Krishna, basically the analogy is given like a mirror. So a mirror, it may be very dusty, but if you clean it, you can see very clearly in the mirror. So this chanting of Hare Krishna, it cleans our heart. It cleans all the crud, all the selfishness, all the bad qualities that we may have. And what we're left with is this, we're left with a squeaky clean squeaky clean desires. You know, we're left with pure desires. We're left with spiritual desires, desires to serve Krishna. In the spiritual world, everyone is actually centered on Krishna's enjoyment. In that way, everyone is linked in desire. You know, here, many people, they're focused on I'm focused on my happiness. You're focused on your happiness, and then we have a competition. You know, we fight over the cookies. But in the spiritual world, everyone, they're focused on Krishna's satisfaction. So there's no selfish fighting between the two. When they're working together to help each other serve Krishna. In this way, there's no enmity. You know, in this world, we have a tendency, if someone is more successful than us, to be a little bit jealous. Oh, that person, he has so much more money or whatever. But for the devotee, it's described when he sees someone more advanced in Krishna consciousness, he becomes very happy. He becomes inspired. He thinks, oh, he thinks in a positive way, oh, I wish I could be like him. You know, he looks up to him, just like everyone has their heroes, you know. So we should look up to these great Vaishnava saints and aspire to be like them. You know, Srila Prabhupada, he's our inspiration, actually. He's the devotees, especially those who had the personal association with him, I don't think they'll ever forget it. You know, they'll ever forget what Prabhupada was like. And, you know, that motivates them in their everyday lives. They want to reciprocate for what Prabhupada has done for them. So the devotees, seeing the mercy that they have gotten, seeing the mercy they have received, especially those who have practiced for some time, this Krishna consciousness, it brings about such a profound change in the qualities of somebody. You know, it brings out such a transformation in the qualities of somebody. You know, there's so many stories in Shastra we can hear. You know, there's the famous story of the hunter. He used to, not only did he hunt, he hunted animals like deer or whatever, but not only did he hunt them, but he would shoot them in such a way that they'd kind of die slowly. Sorry, but he was not a very nice person. But by the mercy of Narada Muni, later he was careful not to even when he would offer his obeisances, he would use his chadar, or like the bottom of his dhoti, to brush the ants away, so he wouldn't land on them. You know, when he bowed down. So devotional service, it brings out such a change in the qualities of the devotees. And this isn't something we have to just hear from Shastra. We can experience it practically in our everyday lives. And I like this, I've heard this a few times and I keep on using it in my life and when I speak now, is that this Krishna consciousness, it's very much it's like a scientific experiment. That, you can read it in the textbooks what'll happen, like, oh, if you mix hydrogen and oxygen and you do it in this way, you'll get water, But you have to, in order to actually see that, you have to do it yourself. So you could read so many books. You can read our Bhagavad Gita. You can read Perfection of Yoga, whatever our books. You could see the beads. You can see we're chanting Hare Krishna, whatever. You can see that there's devotees who've been doing this for so many years. But when one actually tries it out, one gets the experience, the faith increases, one actually gets some understanding of what chanting Hare Krishna, what devotional service really is. The analogy is also given of a bee. The bee wants some honey, and the bee is like going on the outside of the jar of honey, and he's trying to get the honey. But he's got to open the jar of honey to get the honey. So Krishna consciousness, it's something really to be experienced. So I gave this. So, in the beginning, we have some little faith. We think, oh, maybe I should try this chanting Hare Krishna. Maybe I should take the spiritual food. That's usually not so hard to convince people to do. Take food. Here, free food. Or here. Anyway, so this one is these steps aren't so hard, but when as one takes up, one finds some enjoyment, one finds some spiritual relishment in these beginning stages, then one is encouraged to take up more seriously the practice. And in the end stage, the devotee, he can't stand to not think about Krishna for a moment. Here we're all us aspiring devotees. We're all aspiring to think of Krishna. We're trying to think of Krishna. But for the devotees, they can't help but think of Krishna. They are enthused. They wake up, what am I going to do for Krishna today? They wake up so excited, just like sometimes we maybe going on a trip, especially me when I travel, I always get a little, I'm always thinking about it like weeks and months in advance, like, oh, I'm going to go to India, or I'm going to go here, and I'm always getting excited, So we should actually be like that for going back to God. We should be so excited. And like, oh, wow, I'm going to get to chant Hare Krishna today. Like, what am I, if we actually think about what we're doing, if we actually think about it from a larger perspective, that we are chanting a mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is said that this mantra, it's non-different from Krishna himself. So we're getting to associate with Krishna himself every day. I hear devotees give this analogy sometimes, and I kind of laugh at it sometimes, but there's a point there that Krishna, he came walking in the door. Krishna came walking in the door. He's like another Sunday feast guest. Krishna kindly came to hear. We'd all be pretty excited. We'd all be pretty excited. People would be offering their obeisances. People would be jumping up and down. People like, did I am I dreaming? People would be pretty excited. So we hear this. We understand. We'd all be pretty excited if Krishna came. But when it comes to chanting our rounds or listening to class or whatever it is, then we lose attention. We aren't so interested. It's a matter like you're chanting. It's like you're chanting Hare Krishna. Another way you can look at it. It's like you're having a conversation with Krishna. Krishna's there, and he's there with you. I'm sitting there with you, and I'm having a talk with you, and then my cell phone rings, and I'm like, oh, hello, yes, that's very nice, so and so. You're like, oh, hey, I'm here. I came to see you. And you're chatting away on your cell phone, just ignoring the person. So when we chant our rounds, we should be very attentive and understanding that we should try our best to be very attentive that Krishna, he's there. That's actually what really Krishna is looking for. Krishna, what these verses are saying, Krishna is saying, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Krishna, what he's saying is that he's looking for us to try our best. And if we fall short of the mark sometimes, there's no reason to be discouraged, but we should continue with renewed enthusiasm. And Krishna, he's very much pleased with that. Krishna, he's like a very forgiving friend. Sometimes we may run out of patience here in this world, but Krishna doesn't run out of patience. He never gives up on anybody. I was thinking of so there's the example of Jagai and Madai. They were quite some nasty people before they became devotees. And they're really bad people. But then after they became devotees, after they'd surrendered, it was Lord Chaitanya or Nityananda, one of them. I just heard this recently. I haven't read it in the book. But they said, don't consider their past when you look at them as devotees. Don't consider, that they did all these things. Now they're surrendered. Now they're mine. So the Krishna, he's looking for that continued surrender. And what we've done in our past, what little mistakes we make, then Krishna, he overlooks these things if we're sincere in our endeavor to continue to please him. So in our quest to achieve pure devotional service, even if there may be some hiccups, maybe some discouragements, maybe all these things, we should continue with ever-increasing enthusiasm. And the best way to achieve this is to always remain in the association of devotees and to always keep up our practice of chanting Hare Krishna. So if anyone has any questions or comments, I can take those now. We have some time. Jayananda.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful, wonderful talk. I just wanted to say, I don't ever eat cookies, would love to bring 4 or 5 cookies and leave them in the workroom
Yeah.
for, in Krishna eyes, the workplace.
Yeah, come at the end, you know,
So
there's
we'll see
usually,
how many there are.
there's usually some at the end. Anyone else have any questions or comments? We have some time here.
I have a comment.
Yeah,
Like you were talking about the hunter,
yeah,
like then and Narad Muni.
yeah,
Like so, when Narad Muni is asking him that if you, he said that they're killing all these animals, right? So why are you killing all these animals? So he says, I'm a hunter and I have to feed my family.
yeah,
So Narad Muni says that why don't you go back to your family and ask them that whether they are because this is our sin we are
yeah.
committing, right? So he said why don't you go and ask them that they will participate in the sin or the bad things you are doing.
They'll get the if they'll share their reactions.
Right,
That's what they're asking.
They will
Yeah,
share that, right?
yeah,
So he goes to the family and everybody everybody denies. So then he comes back to Hunter comes back to Narad Muni, and then he before he comes to Narad Muni he realizes that all this is on his own, not anybody else.
yeah.
And that way he just changes.
Yeah, we're very much responsible for our own actions.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so that is something that something that we have to be aware of. You know, just like a little kid. You know, a little kid like does something. It's like, oh, he told me to do it. You know, it's like a little kid may have some excuse, but we're as adults. You know, we should know better. You know, especially after the spiritual master, he teaches us to know better. That's the process of devotional service, learning to know better. May take some time. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Yes, Audrey Darna.
Thanks, Hasia. Well, you mentioned association and being how that's so important, being an association of devotees, and sometimes maybe we have great expectations of people of this caliber. So can you maybe talk about or give us some words of encouragement whenever we feel like let down by some of these people?
That's an interesting point, actually. So, actually, one verse that I was going to read, but I didn't get around to. Let's see if I can. I think I have the number here. Let's see if I can read it here. Okay, I don't know if I thought. Okay, I think it's here. Okay. It says, all right, this is chapter 9, text 30. So I'll read a little bit, then I'll elaborate. Don't just jump on it. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. So, okay, so I just read a part of the purport, some part of the purport. It says, the material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared, but Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path, for as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course, as soon as the devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so let's see next. There's anyways, it's explained actually later in the same purport here. I think it's at the end. Yeah. Okay. It says, no one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. If he does not improve his character, by devotional service, then it is to be understood that he is not a high devotee. So this kind of a balance is that, okay, sometimes we're going to get let down. Sometimes someone we may think is we think at a very high level of devotional service, or someone we may trust very much. They may hurt us, or they may show that they are not maybe so advanced. And if this happens at a minor level, then we should still see him, okay, this person's a devotee, this person's very serious, he may have this fault, but he's very serious. But also at the same time, if we see this over and over and over again in some person, that we should understand that, okay, this person, he may not be someone I can take shelter of, this may not, I can offer him respect from a distance, but this is not someone I can take shelter of, reveal my mind to in the same way that I did before, you know. And one thing that we should keep in mind, and this also helps having a more broad association of devotees, is that if a devotee has some problems, it's not a fault of the process itself, but a fault of the practitioner. Just like, I may, the doctor, he gives me some medicine. I don't take the medicine. And I'm like, hey, I didn't get better. It's not a fault of the doctor. It's I didn't take the medicine. I didn't follow his directions, So similarly, there are many aspiring devotees who may not be following all the instructions of the spiritual master very strictly, either on purpose, you might say, or by accident. Someone just might not know. Someone just might be innocent and ignorant, or someone may be purposely avoiding some of the rules that he doesn't like. And this example of just taking what I like out of devotional service, it's like the half a hen philosophy. I like the chanting Hare Krishna, but I don't like all these rules I have to follow. But all these rules are actually meant to make the chanting of Hare Krishna more relishable. It's meant to chant Hare Krishna purely. It's meant for all these things. So does that elaborate a little bit on your question, or could I give you a little more? Maybe give me some direction here.
Yeah, no, that was good. I mean, just to quickly summarize it, basically, we have to be somewhat discerning and kind of self-reflect on our own self, right? On what we're looking at. We have to think about our own perspective.
Yeah.
And like you said, have kind of a broad range of devotees around, because somebody is bound to not be always there supporting you.
Yeah. Thank you. Good question. Anyone else have any questions? We have another 5 minutes, otherwise we'll have early kirtan. Yes.
So you were talking, thank you for
Yeah.
the lecture. You were talking about experiencing the power of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
What if we have, but at times we feel uninspired because we're overwhelmed with like our jobs, school, or how do we balance that life that we have, our duties, and
Yeah.
with Krishna consciousness?
Well, one thing that's really there is this determination to continue our Krishna consciousness, even though we may not be relishing or whatever, may not be enjoying it, you might say. It comes from association. It comes from reading. One understands by intelligence that Krishna consciousness is good for me, and I need to continue it under all circumstances. People ask this question about Krishna consciousness because it's almost something additional to our everyday life. We don't ask, I'm working so hard, should I eat? Should I take care of my kids? It's a given. You got to take care of kids. You got to eat. You got to sleep. You got to do these things. But Krishna consciousness, because we don't understand the importance of it, it kind of seems like an extra thing. But actually, Krishna consciousness is just as important in one sense as you might say of eating, sleeping, taking care of your kids. It's an essential facet of our life, and one gains that faith by reading the books, by associating with devotees, by chanting, by one's prior experience of the nectar of Krishna consciousness, even though one might not be experiencing that now. So I hope that answers your question a bit.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, I think we're.
Can I make one small comment?
Yeah.
So I do believe the shields us from the Maya. I do believe Krishna consciousness shields us from
Yeah.
the negative effects of the Maya. I mean, the Maya is very harsh, but it kind of gets roughed out.
Yeah.
The jabs that we get they get reduced.
Yeah, Krishna, he protects the devotee to a certain extent from Maya, but the free will is still there to be entangled Maya's illusions. So we should be very careful. We shouldn't think that because we're Krishna's devotees, we're immune to the allurements. In fact, we're very much warned and in the Shastra over and over again to be careful of that, even though we are somewhat protected, especially compared to maybe the average Joe, as you might say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll end there. Thank you all very much for listening. Hare Krishna.
So now we will have the second kirtan. If everybody could stand up and place their mats in the back. Someone. Yeah, those are nice socks. Tamam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Guru Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.